Have you ever wondered where Vladimir Putin disappears to? From time to time, he completely vanishes from the public eye. Sometimes it's a week, 2, or even an entire month without hearing anything about the Kremlin's leader. No live broadcasts, no spontaneous statements. Officially, the Kremlin press service, represented by Dmitry Peskov, issues standard phrases: "The president is working with documents," or "holding closed working meetings in Novo-Ogaryovo." But what is really behind these disappearances? At this moment, a real drama is unfolding behind the scenes of Kremlin medicine, hidden from the eyes of ordinary citizens. Well, you'll find more details in our report. You're watching the Glavred channel, and I'm your host, Evgeny Serov. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. Investigative journalists have done tremendous work to lift the veil for you. They analyzed government contracts between the Central Clinical Hospital and hotels in Sochi and other cities where Putin secretly or officially traveled, and compared the dates. What they discovered completely shatters the myth of the alpha male who possesses iron health and never gets sick. It turned out that during these mysterious disappearances, Putin is accompanied by a massive elite team of doctors. This is not just a personal therapist with a travel first aid kit. We're talking about an entire flying clinic on a plane made up of top-level specialists in narrow fields. His permanent medical team includes experienced anesthesiologists, resuscitators, neurosurgeons, infectious disease specialists, dermatovenerologists, and notably Yevgeny Selivanov. He is one of Russia's leading oncological surgeons who has specialized for years specifically in thyroid cancer. He flew to see Putin dozens of times and spent weeks on end with him at his Black Sea residence. Moreover, investigators noticed that in this same team there is always, on every single trip, an otolaryngologist present. In other words, a regular ENT doctor. One might wonder, why would the head of state need to constantly have an ear doctor by his side? The answer lies in medical practice. It is precisely the ENT specialist who, during regular examinations, is the first to notice specific changes in the tissues of the throat, larynx, and vocal cords, which directly indicate the development of a thyroid tumor or problems with the lymph nodes. Meanwhile, as the best minds in Russian medicine fight for the dictator's bodily stability, the Kremlin propaganda machine airs so-called canned footage. For those who don't know, canned footage is a professional term used by television workers. These are short meetings between Putin and some regional governors, ministers, or obedient public figures, recorded in advance, sometimes weeks or even months earlier. They edit these videos, add a current date banner, and broadcast them on federal channels, creating the illusion that the president is energetic, active, and in control of the country, while in reality, the ruler might at that very moment be lying under IV drips, recovering from heavy anesthesia, or undergoing rehabilitation after yet another injury. This allows the Kremlin to hide the real state of affairs for years, both from its own people and from the outside world. The topic of Putin's illnesses is perhaps the most discussed, yet also the most secretive medical mystery of the 21st century, and the most frequent diagnosis that appears in intelligence briefings and insider reports is cancer. Back in 2020, Yuri Shvets, a former KGB classmate of Putin and ex-intelligence officer, openly stated that he had cancer. He claimed that the dictator regularly undergoes intensive chemotherapy courses, which is why his appearance periodically changes drastically. His face becomes puffy and swollen, and his walk loses its lightness. Major British tabloids such as The Sun and Daily Mail have also repeatedly written about this, citing their high-ranking sources in MI6 intelligence. At one point, the American magazine New York Post went even further and published insider information that Putin had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. However, independent medical experts here urge people to maintain strong skepticism. Pancreatic cancer is one of the most aggressive, fast-moving, and deadly forms of oncology in the world. The mortality statistics are frightening. Almost 94%, and patients, as a rule, succumb literally within a year or two after the tumor is discovered. If this diagnosis had been absolutely accurate back in 2015, Putin would have physically not been alive for a long time already. It is obvious that we are dealing with another form of the disease, which can be contained long-term with the help of modern medicine. At that time, the head of Ukrainian intelligence, Kirilo Budanov, also repeatedly emphasized in his interviews that Putin has been suffering from cancer for a very long time, and this is no secret to the world's intelligence agencies. Although many Western officials, including the CIA leadership, publicly express themselves more cautiously, calling these rumors part of an information war. But if things are more or less clear with his physical body, which is being supported by the best medications, then what is happening with his mind? And here we come to the most frightening and dangerous aspect. Western psychiatrists, neurobiologists, and specialized scientists are sounding the alarm as they analyze the public behavior of the Russian leader. Professor James Fallon of the University of California, a world-renowned neurobiologist who has dedicated his entire life to studying the brain structure of psychopaths, dictators, and serial killers, has delivered a clear verdict on Putin. According to Fallon, Putin is a classic textbook psychopath with a pronounced narcissistic personality disorder. But the most dangerous thing is that over the years, this disorder has transformed into severe progressive paranoia. Fallon notes that in Putin's behavior in recent years, there are clear signs of degenerative processes in the brain. His thinking has become compulsive, his decisions impulsive and disconnected from geopolitical reality, and his behavior deeply unbalanced. And according to the professor, the cause of this degradation of the prefrontal cortex could be a whole range of medical problems. This could be anything from a progressive brain tumor to the effects of neurodegenerative diseases such as Parkinson's disease. But in medical and intelligence circles, a much more exotic yet clinically justified theory is also being seriously discussed. Tertiary syphilis. Yes, you heard that right. Advanced neurosyphilis or severe vascular lesions of the brain can trigger an irreversible process of mental destruction. This explains why a once calculating, pragmatic KGB officer has turned into a paranoid dictator who is pathologically afraid of infections, forces his subordinates to quarantine for weeks just for a brief meeting, and communicates with world leaders across a gigantic 10-meter-long table. As a result, no matter how many billions the Kremlin spends on secret genetic laboratories, how many canned stories state television churns out, or how many disguised body doubles appear before the press in his place, nature still takes its course. The physical and mental decline of the leader of the aggressor country can no longer be concealed behind thick layers of makeup and computer graphics. And no artificial intelligence, no organ transplants can change the fact that the ending of this story has already been predetermined by evolution itself. The clock of history is ticking, and the fate of all dictators is the same. My name is Evgeny Serov. This is the Glavred channel. See you next time.